The following matter was being discussed among some Ahmadi friends, and that is, when appointed an imam of a mosque has already led a congregational prayer in a mosque, can another party of Muslims arriving later have the same prayer in congregation, for example, Asr prayer, led by another person in the same mosque? Secondly, very often the Eid prayer is said more than once due to lack of space in the place of prayer or for some other reasons. As I think...
Shall we go bit by bit, please? You don't pack so many questions in one question. Let's first answer the first part, and then when I finished answering you, then you can turn to the next one, please. Right? The first question which has been asked by you, or the first part I should say, our bigger question, is that in one mosque, the same prayer, can the same prayer be repeated in congregation or not? That is to say, in Maghrib prayer, for instance, if an imam has led the Maghrib prayer, can another party say the same Maghrib prayer in the same mosque after the first congregation prayer? Is that right? Okay. The fact is that the mosques are symbols of unity, and the congregation prayer is also a symbol of unity. So anything which can promote a habit contrary to this or detrimental to this cause should not at all be encouraged. So people living in the vicinity of a mosque should be led by one imam, and one prayer should be said once in congregation by the people living in that locality. Otherwise, disorder would be created. Otherwise, the community living in the vicinity of that mosque may be divided into factions, some liking one imam and the others liking another, and creating small factions within the community. And then there would be infights. This imam should lead prayer, or the other imam should lead first prayer, who would be given the preference and all that. In disorganized communities, this actually is happening, even in England. Among the non-Ahmadis, you come across daily such sad, tragic news as people fought pitched battles with each other because some preferred one imam to the other and so on and so forth. And some said, we should say prayer first, you should say later on, and such quarrels arose out of this general permission. So Islam does not promote any disorderly behavior. This is why it should be the part of our decorum to say one congregation prayer in one mosque. That applies to the normal routines. But if you are traveling, if you are on a journey, and you happen to go by a mosque, and with the permission of the owners of that mosque or the organizers of that mosque, you say your prayer in congregation, there is no harm whatsoever. In Masjid Mubarak too, it has been a tradition that non-Ahmadis, when they visit us, they are permitted to say their prayer in congregation in Masjid Mubarak Rabwa, because they don't say their prayer behind our imam. They prefer to say their own. So we do not stop them, because by doing so we do not create disorder in the local society at all. There is no harm, no danger whatsoever. So if there is no danger, if there is no harm, then saying congregation prayers twice or three times in a mosque by itself is not a crime. In itself, it should be permissible, unless it can create some disorder or some other, wrong tendencies. So, subject to that, this is permissible. And as I told you, sometimes it happened that a party went out and returned from the journey, even those who were Ahmadis and lived in the vicinity, and they missed the congregation prayer, not because they were present and they should have attended that prayer in time and they ignored it, not because of that, but because they returned from a journey. For instance, we used to go on Sarullah trips or Rafiji trips and so on. We returned to Rabwa after a prayer had already been said, and because it was a party on Allah's job, Allah's work, so we decided we should say our prayer in the mosque. So nobody took exception to that. Nobody objected to it, and we did it in congregation with one precaution, that when we said, and this precaution was always taken by every party which I have observed doing this, instead of their imam standing in the central place of the mosque, occupying the same central position where normally the imam leads the prayers, they would go humbly to one corner of the mosque and say their prayer there, so that any observer should not think that the central prayer is being said here. He should know that this is just a secondary prayer and not the one which is normally held in routine and officially in that mosque. So in the light of all this, you should, practice whatever you want to. Yes. Yes, please. He was a specialist in traditions of Hadhrat. This is his subject, specialized subject. So he remembers the appropriate traditions at the right time. He just remembered one tradition which applies to this situation. Yes.
And a person came later in the mosque and he said his prayer alone. Zul was watching for his prayer. When he finished, you said your prayer not in communication.
Similarly, yes, that's right. Yes, quite right.
So Zul said, who will share with him the congregation prayer and get the reward of his prayer?
That's right.
He
offered, yes. So that again applies to that special situation. Somebody from outside Medina visited Medina, and because he was a traveler, he did not know the times and he could not attend the prayer, congregation prayer led by Hadhrat. So not only did he permit him, but encouraged him and provided him with a companion so that his prayer could be turned into a congregation prayer. Please, thank you. No, but there is only 1 minute left. And Rashid Sahib has also to ask a question. The second and third and fourth maybe tomorrow, right? Yes, please. Or do you gladly give him the time and you can defer your question till tomorrow, huh? Okay. Yes, come on.
Secondly, very often the Eid prayer is said more than once due to lack of space in the place of prayer or for some other reasons. As I think, in both cases, the matter is of exceptions and not of a regular basis, that prayers could be said more than once. Hazur's guidance is humbly requested in both these cases. I had written that.
You had written that, but I have already answered this, haven't I? Your question followed my answer. It didn't precede it.
No, I asked the permission to read what I said as a question, but now one part was answered already. Now the second part regarding Eid prayer is still.
The Eid prayer, this is wrong. No two Eids can be said. Eid prayer is not like the 5 daily compulsory prayers. It is a completely different institution. And it can be said only once. And if you miss it, you don't have to say it on your own. I mean, this is not something compulsory to the extent that when you miss the Eid, you should still say your own Eid individually. There is no such thing. So when you have missed, finished.